Tuesday.
It was set up in a way for us to get a look at all of them. The plan was to have Shedeur have a few more reps.
Quarterback room, it's a great relationship in there. Nobody feels any type of way towards each other. We all focus. For sure.
So when you've had a few weeks out there now with Joe and Kenny, also out there, what have you been, how's it been like working with them, I guess, and how have you picked their brains so far?
Yeah, I think just a diverse room, diversity and experience, and you just appreciate those guys.
Monken at the reins. In this minicamp, the Browns able to run 7-on-7s and 11-on.
The raw press conference and locker room audio, beginning with the clip about the camp being arranged so the staff could look at every quarterback, running through the player soundbite about the room having a great relationship and nobody feeling any type of way. Right after the player quote clip about the experience and appreciating the guys in the room. So, don't skip a single second of this video. And if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin. You hear that? Listen to it again. That's a quarterback room that just told the whole world everything is fine. Everybody's cool. Nobody feels any type of way. Great relationship. Total peace. So let me ask you the question that's sitting in every Browns fan's chest right now. If everything's so calm, so settled, so drama-free, then why did the depth chart just quietly move under our feet? Because something happened this week. And it doesn't match the story we've been fed for months. Think about where we were just a little while ago. The narrative was locked. It was written in stone. The veteran sits on top of this thing. The rookie sits at the bottom of every analyst's board, every hot take segment, every here's why it won't work video. That was the hierarchy. That was the script. And it got repeated so many times, it just started to feel like fact. Then the doors opened. First real practice under this new staff. Not shorts in air, not walkthroughs, real football. And the story on the grass? It didn't match the story in the studios. Not even close. Because when the whistles blew, the guy taking the biggest chunk of the work wasn't the name we've been told to bow to for a year. It was the young one, the cheap one, the doubted one. The kid half these talking heads spent an entire season burying under he can't read this and he can't do that. He's the one who walked away from day one with the ball in his hands more than anybody else on that field. And I need you to sit with that for a second. Because this isn't some old coach protecting his guy. This is a brand new head coach. Zero history here. Zero loyalty to anybody in that building. No reason on earth to play favorites. And on his very first honest look at this roster, he built the whole thing so that the doubted kid got the most reps. Coaches don't stumble into that. They don't accidentally hand out the majority of the work. Every single rep in that setting is a decision, a choice, a message. Especially when the entire sports world is standing there watching your quarterback room like hawks. So no, this isn't a small thing. This is the most scrutinized position in the sport, on one of the most talked about teams in the league, with a fan base that has been starving for a reason to believe. This is a franchise-altering decision playing out in real time. And the media told you to look away from this kid for 12 straight months. Here's my promise to you. By the time this video's over, you're going to understand something. This camp wasn't noise. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a favor. It was a signal. And the people who told you to doubt him, they're about to look really, really wrong. Let me show you exactly why. So let's get out of our feelings for a minute and look at what actually happened on that field. Because emotion is one thing, but the reps are the receipt. Here's the real picture. 3 quarterbacks. 1 genuine wide-open competition. At the very top, the first team snaps got split the veteran and the young guy trading turns with the starters. But when you add up the entire day, every period, every rotation, one name carried more of the total workload than anybody else. And it wasn't the guy with the massive contract. It was the kid everybody wrote off. Now here's what makes that matter. This wasn't a glorified walkthrough. This wasn't guys jogging around in shorts throwing against nobody. This new staff ran real team periods. Full 7s. Full 11s. Actual installs. Actual defense flying around. Actual football. This was the first honest evaluation window we've had since the coaching change, the first time anybody got to see this roster tested for real. And when the evaluation finally happened, it pointed one direction. The reps are the tell. Write that down. And look at the gap here, the gap between what we were told and what actually got logged. All spring, national media painted the veteran as the clear frontrunner. Every radio show in Ohio ran with it. But the beat reporters standing at that facility, the ones actually watching the periods and counting the snaps, they came back with a different story entirely. That's the disconnect. That's the moment the narrative and the reality split in half. And this is where team fit comes in, because it's not random. This offense, the way this staff wants to play, the traits they've said they value, the reps line up with all of it. You can go on the radio and argue about who looks like a starter all day. Doesn't matter. The practice script doesn't do interviews. The practice script just tells the truth. And the truth had the young guy's name written all over it. The reps don't lie. The reps are the tell, and it's not just the coaches quietly showing their hand. The insiders are talking. The quarterback coach openly said he was blown away by this kid's vision, his ability to see the field. National reporters said he closed the gap in this competition faster than anybody inside that building expected. And more than one respected voice has flat out called this one of the most legitimate quarterback battles in the entire NFL. Those aren't fan takes. Those are the people with actual access. So put it together. Split first team snaps. Most total reps on the day. A brand new coaching staff. Insiders praising his processing. This stopped being an interesting little story a while ago. This is the building telling us something. They're not tolerating this kid anymore. They're not keeping him around as a nice story. They're starting to build around him, and once you see that, you can't unsee it. And that's exactly what makes the doubters so nervous. Now let's talk about the noise. Because for a full year, this kid has been buried under it. So let's line every knock-up, one by one, and actually look at them in the light. He can't read defenses. That's the big one, right? That's the line they've recycled 100 times. So here's my question, show me the play. Name the snap. Roll the tape where he stares down a coverage he had no business missing. Because the people saying it the loudest never seem to have the clip ready. They just repeat the phrase and move on. Show me the tape. The numbers were ugly. Okay, fair, let's be honest here, because I'm not going to sit and pretend the rookie year was clean. It wasn't. The interceptions piled up. The completion percentage was nowhere near where you want it. There were bad throws, there were rough afternoons. I'm not here to lie to you, that's not what this is. But here's what the stat line doesn't show you. The arrow. Which way was it pointing by the end? Because a young quarterback doesn't get thrown into a lost season halfway through a game, take over a sinking ship, and then start every single week the rest of the way if the staff sees a lost cause. He held the job. Nobody handed it back to the other guy. That tells you something a completion percentage never will. And then there's the game that shows the ceiling. The one where it all clicked hundreds of yards through the air, a pile of touchdowns, a rushing score on top of it, against a real NFL defense. That's not a fluke. That's a window. That's the exact version of him that made this whole league lean forward and go, oh, that's what's in there. He only played because of the injury ahead of him. Come on. So what? Opportunity is opportunity. Every legend you love got their shot because somebody in front of them went down. We've seen this movie before. A young guy steps in when nobody planned for it and just refuses to give the seat back. That's not luck. That's a guy grabbing the moment and squeezing. And this is where I get frustrated for him. Because so much of the criticism isn't football. It's a narrative. It's talking points passed around by people who never cite a single play, never break down a single read, never show you the film. They just say the words because the words got them clicks last year. Name the play, show me the tape, bring me the snap. They can't. So here's the beautiful part. Every single one of those knocks, he's answering them right now. Quietly, inside that building. Not on a podcast. Not in a Twitter fight, on the grass, with the coaches watching, with the reps piling up. Every doubt became fuel, and that fire, it's just getting started. Now let me tell you the part of this story that actually gives me chills. Rewind to the moment it all started, a season already slipping away, a game going sideways, and at halftime, they turn to the young kid and say go. No warning, no runway, just walk into the fire and figure it out. And you know what he did? He grabbed that job and he never ever gave it back. Start after start after start, all the way to the end. That's not talent. Talent is common. That's temperament. That's a guy who looked at chaos and said, "This is mine now." And that's the thing you can't teach. When the moment got big, he didn't shrink. He grew. But here's what really tells you who this kid is. Look at the locker room. Reporters went digging, and I mean digging for the drama. They wanted the jealousy. They wanted the guy who lost his starting spot to crack, to say something bitter, to give them a headline. And they came back with nothing, empty-handed, because all they found was a room talking about accountability, respect, doing it together, nobody feeling any type of way. Think about how rare that is. A young player takes another man's job, and the room doesn't fracture, it tightens around him. That's not just talent. That's leadership. That's a guy who commands respect instead of dividing a building. And none of this comes out of nowhere. This is a kid raised inside the game, coached at the highest level his whole life, studying defenses, calling protections, living football since he was a little boy. The pedigree is real. And the people who actually know this position, the ones who've studied quarterbacks for decades, they've looked at him and said, this one's different. One respected voice around that franchise even said he'd be shocked if this kid doesn't win the whole thing. Now widen the lens. Because this isn't just a football story anymore, it's a movement. This young man rewrote the record books off the field before he ever took a real snap, licensing numbers that shattered marks set by all-time legends, merchandise records, jersey sales near the top of the entire league, brand deals nobody his age has ever touched. One player, moving the needle for an entire franchise. And here's the kicker, there's a brand new stadium coming down the road for this team. A new era. And there is exactly one name on this roster who fills those seats, who sells that building out, who makes people believe the future's worth showing up for. You feel that? That's the sound of something historic starting. This isn't a long shot anymore. This isn't a nice little underdog tale you root for and forget. This is a franchise quietly organizing its next decade around a kid everybody told us to doubt. And if that's true, then what happens in September changes everything. So let's bring it all home. Let's put every piece back on the table. The narrative said the veteran was in front, and the kid was buried. Then the new staff opened the doors, ran real football, and the reps told a different story, the young guy carrying the biggest load on day one. The coach didn't hide it. He stood at the podium and walked everybody through the rotation himself. The locker room? Unified. Reporters went hunting for a feud and came back with respect. And the doubters? standing there holding a year's worth of empty talking points with nothing left to point to. That's the picture. All of it, pointing the same direction. But I'm gonna be straight with you, because I always am. Nothing's been handed to this kid. Nothing. There's no crown on his head. He hasn't won anything yet. And you know what? That's exactly why this matters so much. Because he didn't get gifted a job. He earned the right to go win it out in the open, in real games, in front of everybody. That's the honest version. And the honest version is the one that hits the hardest. And let me give the veteran his due here, because this is real. He's been through things most players never come back from. He's earned his shot to compete. This battle is going to get settled the right way through the preseason. On the field, in live reps, with the pads on. Nobody's skipping the line. May the best man win. I mean that. But here's my thesis. Here's the thing I can't shake. The media spent an entire year treating this kid like a problem this franchise needed to solve. A distraction. A headache. Something to manage. And his own new head coach just spent his very first camp treating him like the answer. Sit with that gap. That's the whole story right there. So let me plant my flag. You ready? I think when the lights come on in September, this kid is the one taking that first snap that counts. I think he wins this thing. Not because it's handed to him, because he takes it. The same way he took it the first time nobody was ready for him. Now I need to hear from you. That's the whole point of this. When this team names its starter, is it the young kid finally shutting the whole world up? Or does the veteran dig deep and hold him off one more year? There's no fence to sit on here. Pick a side. Drop it in the comments right now. Tell me who you've got. And if this breakdown got your blood going, do me a favor, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and stick around. Because we are following every single snap of this thing all the way to September. Because the doubters had their year. Now it's his turn, and something tells me he's been waiting for this his whole life.